It is 6:30, and I would like to call to order the December 27th, 2022 special board meeting of the Niles-Maine Library Board to order. Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Derblick?
Here.
Trustee Schoenfeld? Here. Trustee Makula?
Here.
Trustee Rosansky? Here. Trustee Olson?
Here.
Trustee Keene?
Here.
Trustee Kadir?
Item 3 on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? You may want to tell Rich that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
None of them are lighting up. No, none of them are lighting up.
Mine lights
Lit up. Okay. You know what? Cover the light and you'll see the light.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Yeah, it's lit up on the rim there.
Thank you. You can see what
At this time, I will reiterate the rules for our board meetings. As board president and presiding officer.
Point of order.
Your point of order is denied. It is
What's
my
surprising about that?
responsibility to preserve and maintain decorum at all times during official meetings of the library board. As such, this board will not tolerate outbursts and interruptions during our meetings. I am asking that each member of the public respect that and to conduct yourself accordingly. If, on the other hand, you do interfere with the orderly conduct of the meeting or you persist in disorderly, disruptive conduct, I will have you removed from the meeting. Any conduct which interrupts the consideration of library district business is considered disruptive, including but not limited to shouting out, clapping, snapping, hissing, etc. during the meeting. Public participation and comment will be permitted during the public comment portion of the agenda, consistent with the library rules. Remarks shall be made from the speaker's podium only. Abusive and profane comments will not be permitted and will be promptly ruled out of order. If you persist, you will no longer be allowed to speak. The board vests in me, as the board president, the authority to terminate the remarks of speakers who fail to adhere to the rules. Individuals addressing the board must at all times adhere to the library policies and rules as may be necessary for the efficient and orderly conduct of the meeting. All public comments shall be addressed to the board as a whole, and no comments shall be addressed to individual members of the board, library staff, or other members of the public body. Thank you. Cindy, would you please call the first person for public comment? Well, I was going to announce the time when the person gets up to the podium.
Elliot Osherman?
Good evening, Board. This is Elliot Osherman of the Committee Against the Retention of the Three Snoozes. As usual, I've given a copy of these comments to your Executive Director so she can distribute them to you in order to follow along. Following along is my expectation. As usual, am I addressing the entirety of the Board? I might refer to someone or something, but that is not the same as addressing any individual. As usual, my declarative statements that I will be neither interrupted nor silenced, nor will we, nor will the community. I will remember this, as will we, as will the community. And finally, I will vote on April 4th, 2023, as will we, as will the community, to reclaim our library. Subject to tonight's special meeting, that temporary hiring freeze. How did we get to this point? How did we get to this public embarrassment? Well, there was the election of 2021, 4 new trustees. Several ran on the idea that the tax levy could be cut by 10% with no program cuts and no firings. Not true. Programs were cut. Staff started to leave. They tried to impose a budget which would reduce hours to 56 hours per week and large cuts across the board. Olivia Hanusiak proposed a compromise that would reflect 66 hours a week and no staff reductions. Past and newer hours started in September of 2021. Your president, she who will go unnamed, visions of her address is my worst nightmare, decided to start investigating staff usage and started asking questions of the executive director. Questions started in August. Madam President didn't like the answers that were provided in September, asked more questions, more answers in October that she didn't like. She announced that the freeze would stand until the questions were answered to her satisfaction. Month after month, more answers, but not to her liking. Some board members started asking to have the freeze put onto the next month's agenda under new business. Never happened. Staff keeps leaving. Come November of 2021, it's levy time. Levy was cut by 18%. I predicted then that the reduced levy would result in a 22-23 budget proposal as a reduction. That's what happened. Now we get to the budget proposal for 22-23. Three members started to insist on staffing increase for replacements. No go. None. No compromise at all on staffing. No compromise on staffing freeze. I don't think a single staff member was let go. The three on the president's right didn't need to fire anyone. Staff went from 132 to 67, voluntarily, or retired, or found a more attractive location in which to work, one in which staff is respected. One of your board members was at an ILA conference. When she announced on which library's board she served, she was advised of the embarrassment with which this board was viewed. It's time for the board to end this hiring freeze. Stop the charade. Stop it now. Reclaim our library. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason Trunco.
Good evening, Board. I come to you tonight as a Niles resident for over 15 years and a fourth-generation household coming through this very library. Visiting the library with my family, I have had many positive interactions with the staff that makes this library what it is today, including today I was here with my children for over 2 hours. Over the past 16-plus months, the staff has been under a great deal of distress. Through it, the staff has remained positive, helpful, and just as friendly as ever when interacting with patrons, doing everything that they actually can. The staff does not have enough help, and we are losing essential staff members without being able to replace them. The fix is simple. I ask tonight that the board lift the hiring freeze and start strategically adding the help that is needed to the library, beginning with the hardest hit areas. The immediate should be the kids' space, where additional children's librarians can increase programming for the future of not only our town, but our country as well. The next should be digital services, where increased assistance can ensure our online presence remains a stable and viable option for so many in different various situations. I would also ask that you look at patron services, an area that has gone under the radar due to its great leadership. Front and back end of patron services needs our help, and they need it now. The library is an essential service to this community. We should never, ever cut essential services, especially those with such a broad reach of seniors and children and everyday people that need it. We need to make sure everyone can utilize one of the best services Niles has to offer, and we need it done tonight. A final ask of the board: let's make some progress on union negotiations. As a proud husband of an AFSCME union member, I know exactly how important the benefits are to each and every employee at the library to have not only the security, but the backing of a union, which is critical to their lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Lynch.
Hello. My name is Elizabeth Lynch. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an organizer with the Niles Coalition. Our Save Niles Library campaign is made up of concerned community members and patrons who are fighting against a right-wing attack on our library by trustees Derblich, Schoenfeld, and Mikula. We urge this newly functional board to dispense with the cruel and unjustifiable hiring freeze tonight. The current staff levels put us far below the minimum requirements established by the Illinois Library Association and endorsed by the Secretary of State. Staff are exhausted. Service desks sit empty. Programs have been cut. Our neighbors can't get the help they need. learn new skills, or find community through the classes and events that once brought us together. This hiring freeze was never about getting enough information or being fiscally responsible. After 18 months, it should be clear to everyone that it was always a way of firing staff, cutting services, and diminishing our once great library. The staff that remain are working so hard to serve the community as best they can, but they can't hold on forever. They have been waiting for this moment. Tonight, reverse this terrible decision and restore the ability of the library director to hire the staff our community needs and deserves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Sanders.
Good evening. My name is Steve Sanders, he, him. Tonight, you should be voting to rescind the disastrous temporary hiring freeze put in place a year and a half ago. And it's about time. I would have rather have had this meeting when the 7th trustee was initially appointed. The weather was much warmer in summer. But pointless and wasteful lawsuits got in the way of that. Since the temporary hiring freeze went into effect in May of 2021, we lost 40% of our total library staff. Each of the remaining 64 employees has to cover that much more work just to maintain the level of service that this community has become accustomed to. Due to their hard work and dedication, the losses have been minimized. How much longer can the staff last with this level of attrition? When you look deeper into the programming statistics, you can start to see some of what we have lost. When you compare 2021 to 2022, you see that the library is offering about 30 less programs each month, almost one a day. These staffing losses come while more and more people went back to the library in person, using more services that require moderation by the library staff. The Niles-Maine District Library and the community the library serves needs you as the board to do your job. Give the director the ability to appropriately staff the library and give our wonderful library staff a chance to rebuild what you have broken. Lift this ridiculous hiring freeze. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the people that have signed up to make public comments.
Thank you. Okay, with respect to the trustees, I would like to read rules that govern the proceedings of the board. Your point of order is denied. As you know, the rules of parliamentary practice comprised in Robert's Rules of Order govern the proceedings of the board. There are certain rules contained within Robert's Rules with respect to decorum. By reminding you of the rules, I hope it will lead to a more civil and productive debate, which is one of the most important concepts underlying parliamentary procedure. Robert's Rule of Order number 7, debate states speakers must address the remarks to the presiding officer. Be courteous in their language and deportment and avoid all personalities, never alluding to the officers or other members by name, where possible to avoid it, nor to the motives of members. Additionally, Robert's Rules of Order number 43, decorum in debate states in debate a member must confine himself to the question before the assembly and avoid personalities. Further, the rule states that during debate, no member is permitted to disturb the assembly by whispering or walking across the floor or in any other way. All the trustees should refrain from disturbing the assembly, and you should encourage others to do likewise. Consistent with Robert's rules, I am asking each of the trustees to refrain from speaking until recognized, confine remarks to the merits of the pending question, refrain from attacking a member's motives. The measure, not the member, is the subject of debate. Address remarks through the chair. The application of Robert's rules is the best method to enable the Board of Trustees, with due regard for every member's opinion, to arrive at the general will on the maximum number questions of varying complexity in the minimum amount of time and under all kinds of internal climate, ranging from total harmony to hardened or impassioned division of opinion. Thank you for your cooperation. Okay. New business, 5A, hiring freeze Discussion. Investigate and document specific tasks, services, and specific times that deficiencies may exist in relation to staff deployment. At this time, I will call trustees individually for comment. Trustee McCullough.
Yes. The library's open 66 hours a week. We're not busy most of the time. There might be peaks and valleys as far as we're busy. There's no information here as far as what positions we need. We've asked for information. We've gotten none. I've asked for a lot of information from various departments and got little or nothing, or information that was grammar school level. And I have no idea what positions we're looking to fill here, what hours. Can we shift people from 9 to 5 to weekends when we might be busier on a Saturday? That seems to make sense to me. I think we're a lot busier on weekends and evenings, and we've got the predominant bulk of our staff works from 9:30 to 5:30. So, I mean, we need to match our staffing with our patron attendance levels. That's obvious when you walk in here on a weekend that there's no match at all. So I think that's one of our biggest problems. And the fact is, on the weekends, they didn't have any programs. I mean, we went in the children's department. They had, I believe they had one program on Saturday, but 3 or 4 on Thursday. And it just didn't, the matchup isn't there. So we just need more information. And we need good information from various supervisors. We had one here about 2 months ago that she couldn't enunciate her problems, and she's been complaining. So, we need more information to go any further.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes, I agree that we need more data regarding the actual information for employees to be working with us. We need to do further information and also a lot of studies to actually justify hiring.
Okay, Trustee Rosansky.
Yes, thank you. The first thing I'd like to ask is how much you're changing the wording of the agenda we wanted is costing us in legal fees. Second, is this another way, an attempt of your trying to look reasonable? And third, if you need all of these figures and all of these things done, why in the heck have you waited 1.5 years to start it? Thank you.
Trustee Olson?
Well, I can't believe we're here again. Do you know how many times the staff? It's on.
It wasn't.
Okay, it is.
No, it isn't. They said they can't hear you.
Okay, well.
Rich, can you fix Diane's mic?
It's on now. It's on now. I see the light. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just tired of hearing the same excuses come out of your mouths. How many times the staff has sat here, you have drilled them, you have made them cry, they have begged, and they have practically gotten down on their knees, and you have no response for them. Stupid things like, you need more information. Give me a break. What kind of information? Do you see the library? Do you see the staff working and the situations that they're in? Do you hear the public complaining? They're not making it up. This is who we are working for the public, for our customers, for our staff. I'm really tired of hearing, I need more information, and nobody's here. Well, nobody's here if you don't offer a program. We can't offer a program if you don't have the staff. you've created a circle of disgust.
Trustee,
I'm not finished. Mr. McCullough's suggestion all his suggestions are just ridiculous. I'm so disgusted because I'm tired of hearing the same thing. We need to stop this nonsense, do what we were voted to do, protect the library, and listen to our people. I don't know what else to say. I'm tired of hearing statistics. You hear the same thing every week, and it doesn't make an impact on you. I don't understand what more you need. You say one thing and then you do another. A temporary hiring freeze, and then you don't do a temporary hiring freeze. You do whatever you want. You're an embarrassment to the library community. I don't have anything else to say. That's good.
okay, Trustee Keene?
To start with, I'm not sure why we're having a discussion about this when what we asked for was to have a vote, and that's not what the agenda has. So, we asked for an agenda that had action items on it so that we could vote on this, not discuss it. It's been discussed to death. There is no more to talk about. It's not a temporary hiring freeze. Freezes melt. This is not melted. This is a permanent hiring ban. You have completely stopped hiring whatsoever. That's not a freeze, and it's not temporary. It's plain and simple a ban on staff. An enormous amount of hours and manpower has gone into answering the questions that you have asked for data and for proof of what's been going on, to the extent where the maintenance department has to document their minute-by-minute routine for weeks, and that's not enough for you? There is no data in existence that will ever satisfy your requests. It just is not a thing. So it's nonsense. Knock it off. You have never given the public the answer to the question, what is your goal for the library? You've been asked that since you took office. You will not give an answer to that question. What is your goal for this library? To have 50 staff, 40 staff? Where are you going to end this freeze, this ban? You have never answered that question, even though you've been asked many times. Well, they want data too. Why don't you provide it? Or conduct some investigations. I have talked to many different staff in depth about their departments and what they need. The only way to get it is to build a relationship with someone and ask them. But you're not building relationships, you're tearing them down. To say that a supervisor was here and couldn't enunciate their needs is irresponsible and disrespectful, and you're not going to get anywhere like that. You can't talk about them that way or talk to them that way. All you need to look at is the data that says how many staff we had when you got here and how many we have now. That alone should tell you that we need more staff. The library is dying a slow and painful death under your watch. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kadir?
Good evening. I sit in front of you, a trustee, and I have 6 other trustees on the stage with me. I don't know everyone's professional background. I'm a patent attorney. I'm not a librarian. I see one librarian on the stage, and that would be the trustee sitting next to me, Trustee Keene. I believe that expertise needs to be utilized. So I am frankly not interested in any data or any discussion. I am simply interested in one question, which is to go to the director and for the director to coordinate with the heads of each department and ask them, what do you need desperately? And what would be good if you had? And whatever their desperate needs are, I would like those, I will support those needs to be fulfilled. And whatever their longer term needs are, I would like to work towards longer term fulfilling them. I have gotten some information. It is my understanding that adult services is approximately 114 hours short. So we need to hire enough people to fill 114 hours in adult services. Kid space is short 4 permanent librarians, full-time librarians, 2 temporary librarians, and 2 assistants. So I would like to hire 4 full-time librarians, 2 part-time librarians, and 2 assistants in kid space, and so on and so forth. There's deficiencies in marketing, there's deficiencies in patron services, there are deficiencies in numerous areas. I don't know all those details. Again, I'm a patent attorney, other people have other expertise. I am not a librarian, and therefore I am not positioned to be the person to analyze any data that would be given to me to make a determination as to what the needs of this library are. I hand that over to the director sitting in front of us and the heads of departments who are sitting outside or who have gone home for the day, and so forth. So that is my position on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to address some of the comments. Trustee Rosansky, you were asking how much an attorney's cost we spent to create an agenda? No attorney was needed for me to create an agenda. Okay, so if we could get that out of the way. Thank you. And that you would make such a statement is just mind-boggling. But as far as, and it's now my turn to talk, it's my turn to talk. It's my turn to talk.
Go ahead and talk.
Okay, and as far as the agenda, which is requesting information, in order for us to hire, we need to justify the need. We have never received any information from any of the departments justifying the need. All I hear is, we used to have 4 of these and 6 of these, and we don't have that anymore. That's true. We also do not have the patron visits that we used to have according to our statistics. So if we don't have the patrons coming here, but we have a decrease in staff, we need to look at that. And the only way to look at this logically is to have data. You really need to know what hours during the day is children's in need of assistance or not. You need to have data because...
Why do we need to know that, not the director?
Excuse me, if you would quit interrupting, thank you. You need to have data to make decisions.
what you're saying is
because
false.
you have conversations...
That's why we're interrupting.
Excuse me. Because you have conversations with staff or whomever, that doesn't justify anything. And as trustees, we should be able to look at data, which we see every month in our board meetings, and be able to ascertain what is needed and what isn't needed. But in order to hire people, you do need to answer these questions. In addition, I'm not finished.
When you're finished, may I please ask a question?
Trustee Rosansky, please.
I just asked you a simple question.
I'm trying to speak, quit
Fine,
interrupting.
go ahead. Talk.
Trustee Olson, stupid things like you need information. Information is never stupid, and yes, we've been asking for this information for 2 years.
And I've
And
heard
the
I've heard it all. I don't know why
And
you
that's the
haven't.
whole point.
listen.
If you look at our...
I don't know.
Trustee
I see
Olson...
them.
Oh, my God. I don't know why it's impossible for you to be quiet.
When you talk all these falsehoods, it's really hard to sit by and
Trustee
hold my
Olson,
hand.
okay, I will address you because you won't be quiet. If you have seen information that answers item 5A, I would like you to share that
disobeying
with me.
Robert's rules by
If you would
talking
like
directly
to,
me.
if you would like to show me the information that you received, hiring freeze.
I refuse to show
because
you
I have
the
not
information.
seen it. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm asking for it.
Some of this information, which apparently
That's
you're
not true.
listening. Yes,
That's not
she
true.
is. I sat here when she talked about the number of programming being put on by the children's department and it's put on by their staff, written and put together by their staff, and the reason which you were, well, why is it less? Is because they have less staff and therefore they do not have the hours to do it. I sat here and I tend to listen, unlike some of the other board members, to when things are explained.
How can they?
Don't even go there, Joe.
1 outburst at a time I can handle.
Okay, now if you want to outburst.
Okay.
Trustee, no, you can't. Trustee Rosansky, what you're blurting out has absolutely nothing to do with the statement that is being required in 5A. What you scream and yell about is not apples to apples. Because you make noise does not mean what you're saying is true.
That's exactly.
I'm not finished speaking.
Robert's
No more
rules.
interruptions.
Let her talk.
Why are you demeaning
Because
fellow
she-
board
because she
members?
can.
I'm
Because she's the
responding
chief
to
executive
them as they
officer.
question me. Trustee Keene, we've discussed this to death. We have not received any information that we can have a discussion to death about. You do a lot of talking, yes. You do a lot of screaming and yelling.
listen to
That's
this.
not the
Listen
same
to
as
her.
data. And because we've been going round and round and we can't get the information we need, but we scream and yell at each other, that does not suffice.
You're pathetic.
And as far as enormous hours answering questions, you had maintenance provide documentation for weeks. That is not true.
That
We
is
saw
true.
it.
I can
We
prove
saw
it.
It is.
I can prove
It
it.
has not been for weeks. We received.
I can prove that.
Okay,
That is
let
true.
me finish.
We saw
The
the
maintenance
papers.
department, I believe, tallied their hours for 1 week, every single person. And that was the best information we received.
And it wasn't
we
enough
were
for you.
able- No, no one said it wasn't enough. We were able to ascertain much about that department. And that's where we came up with recommendations. So again, you're spouting out, it wasn't enough for you because you don't know what you're talking about.
What?
That's
you haven't
just,
lifted any
that's,
hiring freeze.
and we haven't gotten there yet. But yes, maintenance provided information to Joseph McCullough for 1 week.
Their information,
Excuse me, I'm not finished.
Please, she's on a rip, let her go.
Trustee Rosansky, please stop being rude.
You have no problem being rude, why shouldn't I be rude back to you?
This isn't embarrassing.
Are you going to
Trustee
answer the
Kadir,
question
yeah,
about the agenda?
I'm going through
She's going
each
in
of
order
these.
who she's addressing.
Why we're not having voting on the
Trustee
agenda?
Kadir is not interested in data or information. Trustee Kadir, I realize that you've been here a short time, but certainly have collected information from many people that you talk to. But this board, elected officials, cannot make decisions without collecting data or information and reviewing it as a board. That's our responsibility.
May I address the
I'm not
comment?
finished, thank
She's
you.
not finished, let her
Okay.
roll, she's on a roll.
Children's Department, short-staffed, they don't have as many staff now as they used to have. That's true, but that's not the comparison. The comparison is the number of staff, the programs and the patrons that come here, and where is it we're not serving them. That's the determination we need to make. If we are almost 50% down in attendance and 15% down in staff, that in itself
We're
is
almost
unequal.
50 down in staff. Were you not listening to the facts that were given to us?
We're not 50% down.
We're 40-some% down.
In staffing, I'll have to review
Yes.
that because I just
Yes,
did
you
it.
have to pay attention, listen to what is being told you, and yes, go ahead and
Okay,
review
and
it.
even if it's 40% down, we have already reviewed staff in terms of numbers by what tasks are being done, where the departments are that need more help, and where the departments are that don't need as many staff members, that could cross-train. There's so much to go into this, and we've talked about it and have gotten nowhere. But definitely, in order to discuss the hiring freeze elimination, we need to investigate and document tasks, services, and specific times that deficiencies may exist in relation to staff deployment. If we can't tell when staff is in need of additional help based on patrons, then how could we identify that we need more staff?
I guess you can't. You've determined that.
Okay.
You
Are there,
can't.
I'll go around one more time for more questions.
May-
Trustee McCool, do you have any more comments?
We don't have people walking out of here that aren't being served, that are complaining, that are,
Yes, we do.
not being able to find what they want. Okay, secondly, why in the children's department, the kids are all in school till 3:30, but that's when the...
What about,
Would you stop
Trustee
interrupting me,
Rosansky, You're out of
please?
line. You're out of order.
Hold your mouth shut.
same to you, Joseph. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to start again. We
Go
have
ahead.
very few people walking out of here. I don't know of any people walking out of here that weren't able to find a book they wanted. Somebody's able to help them. They aren't waiting in line for help. I see people at all the service positions all the time. We may not man this commons desk here, but it has no function. It's directional service. It doesn't have any department there. And
I can't.
our children's department is overstaffed when the kids are in school and understaffed when they're out of school. That's a total mismatch of hours with the actual demand for services here. And the same with the programs. They're on Tuesdays and Thursdays heavy, but they're not on the weekends because the people don't want to work. They want to work 9 to 5, and they don't want to work on the weekends. We need to consider it as one library, not 9 departments. We have to have people cross-trained, so as we get busy in one area, we're going to be maybe slow somewhere else. We move them from one point to another and utilize them. I can't, every time I see employees here, they're always on the computer. What are they producing? What are they doing? I don't know. They're not they're not composing programs or anything. I don't know.
He's on a roll, let him go.
But I don't see specific shortages in specific departments. Material Service said they were doing great. They don't have any problem. Other departments, I'm sure, are doing fine. We're doing, our maintenance people come in at 7:30 in the morning. That's wasted time. We don't open till 9:30. They could come in at 8:30. So there's a lot of mismatch there. We could just go on from each department and try to figure out what it is, but we're not getting that information. I got better information from the maintenance department than I got from people with master's degrees.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay? And we have about 21 of those here,
Thank you, Joe.
which is
Excuse me, Trustee
probably
Rosansky.
more percentage
Quit
than NASA
interrupting.
has.
Okay. Can only
Trustee
take so
Schoenfeld?
much.
We just need more statistics. We need more data. We need to know what's exactly happening in each department, the times, breakdown of how many customers are actually attending. How many customers and patrons are actually attending each day, at what time? We need specific data information.
Thank you, Trustee Rosansky.
Yes, I have a few things to say, quite a few that I will not say because I don't need comments from the peanut gallery. But I will make the statement, which I do quite often. I am here at the library multiple times during the week at various times of day. And the children's department, even though some board members don't think they need staff, they have people coming with their toddlers during the day. They need one-on-one attention. When you have kids that are preschool and toddlers, they're here during the day. They don't go to school. So yes, we need people here during the day also. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rosansky. Trustee Olson.
Well, I think we've heard it all. I don't know what else to say. You don't believe all the stories that the librarians have told us. Have you read the highlights? And it shows what they do, what the librarians do, how many minutes they might have spent 40 minutes on one patron and then only 1 minute on another patron. So some patrons would need help, some patrons don't need help. But they spend the time using the services. They spend the time browsing. You know, this is not a jewel. This is not you go in, you do what you need, and you leave. This is a place. This is a community. This is a place where you browse, you relax, you learn, you educate yourself. Perhaps you should come and do that.
I come to this library often, just not when you're here.
Oh, when you do, you usually have your notebook.
Cindy has explained that they have done cross-training. Have you not, Cindy?
Yes, we have.
Yes, they've done all the suggestions that you just reiterated. She's tried them. She's done them. She's still doing them. All of your suggestions, you've gotten data, except it's maybe not on paper. But if you've learned and listened to the librarians, if you've learned and listened to the speakers, to our community members, would you go into an office, see everybody on their computers and say, well, we don't need everybody doing computers, let's just have one?
Depends on the environment.
Well, apparently you don't know what a library is, because that's the environment a library has. It's supposed to feel like home.
I'm not disputing that.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, by expecting this data from somebody, this minute-by-minute data. So they're supposed to put a little check mark every time they talk to a little kid?
No,
So
no,
a
that's not what.
4-year-old comes to them and they're supposed to mark a little.
Use the stopwatch. How long
Excuse me, since we're all going to jump in here, I can at least clarify there's an error in your understanding.
No, I don't want
5A
you to, I'm still
5A
speaking and you,
I know, excuse me, but you're making
no.
false statements.
No.
5A is not asking for check marks. So I don't know where you got that from, but could
Well,
we
because
please
data-
adhere to the agenda items and
Oh,
not
the
add
agenda.
all these
Hiring
additional
freeze
comments
discussion.
that are just taking us away from the exact
Oh,
agenda
because-
item?
All right, because you did not say any incorrect statements? Is that true?
Again, please specifically
Yes,
address the
yes,
agenda
President.
item.
Yes. I really think this is a waste of time, because you won't change your mind. You have it in your head, the three
That's
of
not
you.
true.
I'm sorry.
So,
If you can't
and
justify,
we've
I
heard
can't make a
this-
decision.
We've heard this over and over and over and over again. So that's it, I'm done. Next.
Trustee Keene.
I just want to say how deplorable it is for trustees on this board to be continually insulting the staff. You know, you have to have a master's degree to be able to get a librarian's position. And the fact that, I don't know where you got the number of 21% of our librarians have master's degree. You know, I would be proud of that, not ashamed and not calling it out. And I think that your mindset is really in the wrong place if that's how you feel. But the two questions that I still have related to item 5A specifically, 5A was supposed to be simply approve lifting the hiring freeze effective immediately and not hiring freeze discussion. I would like to know why we are not having what we asked for, and I would also like to know why we can't trust the director to do her job and feel like we have to do that when that's not the role of a trustee.
Okay,
Now
I'll
you can
answer them
talk.
before we get too far away or everybody else jumps in. All right, the reason this doesn't say vote on a hiring freeze is because in order to determine that we want to hire people, we need this information. And while Trustee Olson says she's heard it over and over and over again, hearing all these comments isn't what we need. We're asking for specifics so we could determine in what department, where the void is, and who you need to hire in that area for what reason. It's a very simple process. When it comes to hiring, it's the same data that is expected anywhere in the world. And the
And whose
library needs to follow.
responsibility is it
To do what?
to determine who needs staffing?
Supervisor can very easily determine when there's a
Yes,
void,
so
when
let's
there's
give them the permission to do that. That's all
to
we're
provide
asking
the
for.
data. In order for us,
Provide the data, not the employee.
in order for us to make a determination that we need to hire, we need to have data that justifies it. It's a real simple concept. And
So
Trustee Keane, you had another
why did we
question?
go through the exercise then of you having us submit this agenda when you knew fully well that you wouldn't do what we asked?
The end goal is what you want. You can't just jump in there.
No, well, this is what we asked for,
Okay,
and you
had-
denied it.
Well, guess what? You can't vote to lift the hiring freeze if you can't justify that you need to hire more people. And what was your second question?
Why can't we trust the director to do her job and feel like we have to do it when that's not the role of a trustee as laid out in the trustee manuals?
Okay, what are you talking about? Trusting the director doing what?
The role of the director is to hire, not the role of the trustee. So let her figure out what they need to do and let her do it, instead of not trusting her to do what we hired her to do. That's in
Okay.
her job description.
Let's follow the standards for the
We are
library.
trustees. We're responsible.
For oversight.
That's right. That's another word.
Oversight does not mean hiring.
Oversight is the entire expenditures of the library, all of it. And staffing is one of the largest portions, so why wouldn't we want to see the information? And why is it so complicated? No, it's not micromanaging.
It's
No.
exactly what it
When
is.
you take an oath, I don't need to talk to you. The other thing is, when
Of course
you're
not.
when you're
Actually, he's
elected
one of
as
the
a
people who
trustee-
voted for you, so yes,
when
you
you're
should talk.
elected as a trustee, you have a fiduciary responsibility. You
Oh,
don't
get
just
out with
blindly
these words,
vote
because-
yes to whatever is put before you.
out.
We did that for 6 years.
Oh, bull.
And that's why.
And you've been on this board for how long, Carolyn?
8 years.
Longer
and-
than 8, because
and-
I've been on the board for 8.
Trustee Rosansky, quit interrupting. So what we need to do before we just make decisions is verify
I don't
those
think
decisions.
it's your turn anyway.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, Trustee Keane, did you have anything else to add?
You just really didn't answer my question, but no more.
Trustee Kadir.
I have one question. Director Rademacher, do we need more staff?
Yes. Yes, we need more staff.
Okay, I have all the data I need. Thank you.
Can I make a
So
comment?
now that we have the data, I would like to move forward and actually go on with the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, so as far as
I will address one more
agenda
point. Can I
item-
address one more point?
He's not finished.
Can I address one
Go
more point
right
before?
ahead.
The president tried to imply that I have no experience as a board member. I will add that I spent 3 years serving on the Board of Trustees of the Des Plaines Public Library, and the only time that it ever came before us as to whether any particular individual should be hired or not is in 2 circumstances. Number one, when our previous executive director retired, it was our responsibility to find a new director. We did that. It took us about 5 hours to interview 7 candidates and reach a unanimous decision as to who the new director should be. That director is now currently at Des Plaines. Number 2, the circumstances in which things came up is if specific employees had specific complaints about their situation, they were terminated, and they believe they were terminated unjustly, and so on and so forth. Those types of situations do need to be addressed by the board, and they need to be addressed by a board in executive session. In 3 years, I did not address any other issue related to hiring. That was always 100% within the purview of the executive director of that library, and therefore, it is my very strong opinion that this same decision should be 100% within the purview of the executive director of this library. I asked for the data, all the data I needed, I received it. I'm done. I would like to vote to lift the hiring freeze.
Okay, and Trustee Kadir, I did not say you did not have experience as a trustee. I said that you are new to this board, and the information you obtained is from people that you have spoken to. But we do need data to make these decisions, even though the Des Plaines Library functioned the way you just explained it. Thank you.
He has experience here as well.
You're welcome.
So can I make a comment, please?
Yes, please.
If it's pertaining to the agenda item, of course.
Okay. So I would like to read something from the Open Meetings Act, and that says that the validity of any action taken by the public body which is germane to a subject on the agenda shall not be affected by other errors or omissions in the agenda. So you can take action on a subject on the agenda that has been duly noticed for 48 hours.
Okay.
That's not true when it comes to, and I had this researched, that is not correct. You can only vote on agenda items that require a vote, and especially in a special board meeting. You must adhere to the agenda item as it is written on the agenda. But thank you for sharing.
No, I disagree.
Well, so do I. There's no vote because you cannot take a vote. It's not on the agenda.
No, but if there's a motion, then you'll have to address it.
If it's
You
not,
cannot, if the agenda does not require a vote, you cannot make a motion
And there's
to
your answer,
change the
Becky, why
agenda.
it's
if there's not 48 hours notice of a vote, you don't have a vote.
That's right.
No, that's not what it says.
Yes.
That's not-
And this is a
Whoever gave you that
special board
information is
meeting.
incorrect.
Well, I think it's worth a try,
And
anyway.
it's a special, it's not, it's really disrespectful. And this is a special board
right,
meeting
why don't we
that
just
also
vote?
follows
Why don't we just
specific
motion and vote?
guidelines, not as a regular board meeting.
No, it
I
doesn't say
move
that.
to
on
vote
item
to
number
lift
2.
the special
No,
hiring
we're still
freeze.
on-
I
says-
second.
Still on item A.
It says, "Public notice of any special meeting, except a meeting held in the event of a bona fide emergency, or of any rescheduled regular meeting, or of any reconvened meeting, shall be given at least 48 hours before such meeting, which notice shall also include the agenda for the special, rescheduled, or reconvened meeting. But the validity of any action taken by the public body which is germane to a subject on the agenda shall not be affected by any errors or omissions in the agenda."
Okay, there are
Pretty
no
clear.
errors.
I would
There
like to
are no
motion that
errors
we-
in
I have
the hiring
motioned,
freeze.
I have motioned, I've
I
made a
seconded.
motion. And it has been
There's
seconded.
a vote on the table.
There's no vote on the table
Oh,
because
yes, we
according,
motioned and seconded.
Under Robert's Rules, Article 4, Rule 21, I am asking for an appeal of
Okay.
this decision.
you can do that, and let's contact an attorney about what the
You
laws
cannot do
are.
that. Robert's Rules.
No.
Article 4,
You
Rule
don't know what-
21.
This is a special board meeting.
Article
That does
4,
not
Rule
apply.
21.
Excuse me, let-
President Derblick, Article 4, Rule 21, if you would like to read that, allows me to appeal this decision if that decision is, if 4 or more trustees, under Robert's rules, which are the rules that govern this meeting, if 4 or more trustees,
OMA governs this.
yes, and the OMA allows as.
just read that.
OMA does
The
not
OMA
allow a
says,
special.
the OMA says,
It does.
the validity of any action taken by the public body which is germane to a subject on the agenda. Do you need me to translate any of those words? I'm
No,
happy
I
to do
don't.
so.
I don't.
Then,
According to-
then the validity of any action taken by the public body which is germane to a subject on the agenda shall not be affected by other errors or omissions in the agenda. If your position is that it is an error or omission in the agenda, that this vote was not put on here, then this is a subject which is germane, this is a vote that is germane to the subject on the agenda. Should you disagree, you are permitted, I'm not finished yet, you are permitted under Robert's rules to overturn this. However, I have the right under Article 4, Rule 21, I have the right to appeal that decision.
Okay, I heard
and
you the
that
first
appeal,
time.
I'm not finished yet. That appeal will be
Repeating.
decided by a vote of the majority of that body. And if the majority of that body is to decide that the chair of the meeting's decision is incorrect, then that vote will proceed. That is the
All right, I
parliamentary
heard you
procedure
4 times.
that operates.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, back
right, so
to
let's
your
proceed.
statement. There was no error or inadmission in the original agenda. It is accurate.
That is not
According
what
to-
the rule says, though. If you were to read the
You just
statute,
said that to me.
I'll read it again.
Just-
The
no, you
validity
won't
of
read it
any
again.
action
You let
taken
Joe
by the
go over
public
everything
body,
6 times,
which
why not?
is germane to a subject on the agenda. The validity of any action taken by the public body, which is germane to a subject on the agenda, shall not be affected. The validity of any action taken by the public body, which is germane to a subject on the agenda, shall not be affected. This is germane to the subject on the agenda. We are discussing the hiring freeze. I am asking to have a vote to lift the hiring freeze. It is germane to the subject on the a subject on the agenda, and it shall not be affected by other errors or omissions in the agenda. If the vote was left off for any reason, it is omission. That is an omission because it was requested specifically by these trustees. Therefore, it is an omission. If you disagree, as the chair of the meeting, you have the right to overrule that. However, under Robert's rules, Article 4, Rule 21, I have the right to appeal that decision. And if a majority of the body decides, you're welcome to look up that rule.
I don't need to look it up. We've read it 5 times now.
Then I have a right to object and appeal, and you have to take a roll call vote on that appeal. So I am appealing your decision. Thank you.
Okay, again, this is not a regular board meeting, but a special board meeting, and according to...
That is
Illinois-
irrelevant.
No, it's not irrelevant.
There's a big
Under-
difference.
Listen to what's in the
Under
red.
the Open Meetings Act, for special board meetings, no business except that stated in the notice and agenda shall be transcribed.
Except that which is germane to the
Please be
subject on the
quiet.
agenda.
Special board meetings must adhere to the agenda as specifically stated in the agenda item. It's as clear as day for a special board meeting.
And
This
so-
statement does not
Yes, it does.
pertain to
5 ILCS 122.02A is specifically addressed to special meetings. So therefore, under the rules of statutory interpretation, I'm an attorney. If you'd like to go ask the library attorney, you can.
I already
Under the
did.
proper rules of
I already
statutory, under the rules of statutory interpretation that would apply to this section, under the rules of statutory interpretation that would apply to this section, any qualification of a general rule needs to be treated as a carve-out, namely this. Exactly what's happening.
There's no motion
There's a
on the
motion
floor
on.
'cause
I
it can't
moved.
be made.
There's a
It
motion
can't
on the
be made.
table. You ruled it
And I
invalid, but I
seconded it.
moved.
Okay, I'm not finished with this discussion.
Well, we are. We put the motion to vote, and I seconded it.
I contacted the attorney.
I thought you said you didn't contact the attorney according to this meeting.
Regarding the vote-
You're lying.
Regarding a vote on these items, and he specifically says, according to the Illinois Opens Meeting Act, which states, final action shall be preceded by a public recital of the nature being considered and other information set forth. On and on he goes. As such, in my opinion, no final action can be taken on these items.
Excuse
Well,
me,
it's his
did she
opinion, but
not
it's
tell
not
us
accurate.
earlier in the meeting she did not contact an attorney?
I did not
She
contact
lied.
the attorney.
Well, then when did you ask him?
Trustee, you know, Rosansky, you have a very short memory. You accused me of asking an
stop.
attorney to write the
Excuse me.
agenda items. I did not.
I'm stopping because
There is a motion on the floor, and he is not here, and we are going to go with what we know, which is that this is germane, and we are going to vote.
down, Joe.
No walking across the stage and whispering. You cited that from Robert's Rule number 43. There will be no whispering.
You know what? There was no notice of a vote, 48 hours, no action to be taken, no movement to be taken. It has to be 48 hours notice.
It was noticed, 48 hours. The
but it
subject
didn't
The
was
say a vote.
special,
It didn't say a vote.
rescheduled, or reconvened meeting.
No, it didn't.
But the validity of any action taken by the public
Special
body
meetings are
which is
different than
germane
regular
to
meetings.
a subject on the
Special
agenda shall
meetings
not
are
be
different
affected
than
by other
regular
errors or
meetings.
omissions in the
Rademacher,
agenda.
we owe the public 48 hours notice if we plan to take a vote.
We noticed
That
the
we did-
subject.
We did,
That's
no,
what is
they need to
required.
be, it says clearly in special board meetings.
What
they
you
need to
read
be
said
notified.
that the motion needed to be restated. He's already stated the motion. That's what you just read.
No, that's our attorney going through all what it says. But because our items were specifically listed for discussion and a requirement, you don't just make it a vote.
Well, it's germane to the
the
subject,
other
which has
thing
been
is-
noticed,
But it's a
and it will be a
special
PAC
board
appeal
meeting.
if
It's
it doesn't work.
special board
It's a PAC
meeting.
appeal.
We vote, and if you want
Vote
to
is
take it to
totally
the PAC,
different
you
than a
take it to the
discussion.
PAC.
You
Yes, it
cannot
is.
vote on a discussion item.
You can vote on a subject.
You cannot
No, you-
vote
no.
on an agenda item
Yes, you
that
can.
is
I
not
just read it to
up for a
you.
vote.
I just read it to you.
You are required by Robert's rules to call for a roll call vote on my appeal of your decision.
What about the state of Illinois that says on their site that special board meetings the agenda items must be adhered to specifically the way the agenda is written?
If you would like to appeal
think
the
it says
results of the vote, you may do so, but you are required by the rules of parliamentary procedure to call a roll call vote on on my appeal here.
Based on my information, I am not to allow a vote because it's not on the agenda.
We're not calling, our agenda doesn't call for any votes today at all.
But
There's a
the
motion
vote
on the
is
table. To do any voting here.
germane to a subject on the agenda.
The Open Meetings Act requires
You
that
can challenge it
notification.
later, just like you tell us we can challenge things you push through.
I'm not challenging it later. I've already looked into it.
This is her being responsible, folks, just so you know it.
According to the
You're
Open
just
Meetings
reading
Act,
a
special board
single
meetings
sentence.
must be adhered to specifically
And
what the
I bet
agenda
if you
item says.
asked him about this Article 4, Rule 21, you would get a different answer.
Can you call the roll, Cindy?
Please call the roll.
So the vice president is going to move on.
Vice
No,
President
she
isn't
can't move on.
authorized to do
She
anything.
can't move on if I'm here.
If four of us rule that we want the vote, we are the majority, we have the say. That was so stated in the thing that Mr. Kadir read to us. And do four of
The-
us agree that?
The president is controlling the meeting,
We have-
No, you
not
are
anybody
a
else.
lawyer, and I don't know what degrees you have, and I really don't care.
Vice president does not run the meeting. and
We
the
have to
president
vote on the
does.
appeal first.
We have to vote on the appeal.
We have to vote on the appeal, President
No, we
Erlich.
don't.
I'm not asking for a vote on I'm not asking for a vote on the
We're-
subject, I'm asking for a vote on the appeal.
We're not-
That is under Robert's rules, we have to vote on the appeal.
No, we don't.
It's a special board meeting.
It doesn't matter, you're ignoring Robert's rules, we have to vote on the appeal.
Which she has to read how many different things she says are from Robert's rule at each meeting, but now she wants to ignore it.
I got time. I am appealing the president's decision on my motion.
Get off the
You
phone.
don't need to be on the phone.
She's not on the phone.
Yeah, what is your problem? You
You.
can't see, you can't hear, what's
What else
going
is
on?
new? The fact you don't wear a mask, you've met multiple things about you. Right
Cindy,
now,
can you
there's
call the roll,
nothing.
please?
Do the president's refusing to call the roll? Ask for the roll?
Yes, because according to the special board meeting, OMA, we're not supposed to change an agenda item.
We're not
not
changing an
changing.
agenda item, we're voting on something which is germane to a subject on the agenda.
Which would do what?
It is germane to the subject on the agenda, which is the discussion of the hiring freeze, to vote to lift the hiring freeze.
Okay,
That's-
that's exactly what we're not supposed to be doing.
That is an incorrect interpretation.
That is not on the
That's your-
agenda at all.
It is germane to a subject
It is
on the
not.
agenda.
It is totally different. A vote is totally different than discussion. A move and a
vote-
vote is not the same as a discussion.
You can appeal this.
No.
However, I am appealing that decision, and
Well,
that now has to be
You're
voted upon.
mistaken.
I may be mistaken, you're right. You're correct that I may be mistaken, but that is my understanding. And if you'd like to go through the rules of parliamentary procedure, I request that you read Article 4, Rule 21. I'm here. You
There's
can
a
read
copy
through
on
it.
the podium
There's a copy
right
now
now.
on the podium of Robert's Rules. You can
have
read
it
through that
too.
rule, and you can determine that the president is required to call a roll call on my appeal of her decision.
Okay, I cannot
She's
call
not.
a roll call.
You are required to call a roll call.
That violates the Illinois OMA Special Board.
It does not violate
Yes,
the.
it does.
Yes,
No,
it does.
In
not.
your
Any
opinion, it
agenda.
violates it, but it does not,
my opinion.
based on, in your
It's
opinion.
opinion.
It is your opinion.
Yes, it is.
It's quite obvious it does.
Can't
Oh,
make
no,
decisions
Joe,
based on your
no,
opinion.
This is her opinion. We are going against
that's
her
his opinion.
so therefore, we are not allowed to vote, because it's
Patty.
taking away from her dictatorship.
Patty, it says right in the standards, your job is not your opinion. You do not speak your opinion. You speak as the board requires.
The Open Meetings Act requires that if we're going to have any
We've
kind of a
already
vote,
established,
we
Mr.
have to have it
McCullough,
on the
that
agenda,
it
any
is
move, any
appeal.
vote.
And
Unless
That sort.
under 5 ILCS 122.02A, it is germane to a subject on the agenda, even if it is not on the agenda. That's
But
what the law
it's not
says.
Can't have a vote on it.
That's what the law says, Trustee McCullough.
And that's why you didn't put it on the agenda, because you did not want to allow a vote on it, and that's why you refused to
The
put it on
law
the agenda.
says that you can have a vote on it, and Robert's Rules says that if I appeal your decision, you have to take a roll call vote. Therefore, you are allowed to have a vote, number one.
What's the ILCS of Robert's Rules?
The ILCS of Robert's Rules? Robert's Rules are not under.
That's right.
There
Robert's
are-
Rules are in our bylaws.
Yeah, in our bylaws.
In our bylaws that meetings will follow Robert's Rules.
Well, it doesn't say that we will always follow.
It says we will follow Robert's Rules.
Except when she wants to do her little speeches at each meeting.
Trustee Derblick, I'm not leaving until this vote is taken.
That's fine.
We can sit here all night,
Well,
I'm
you
fine.
you have to do your job.
When you leave, then let me know and we'll vote on my motion. Thank you. Whatever, I'm here. I am not going to vote to adjourn this meeting until you take a vote on my appeal.
Well, if she doesn't do her job, then
I'm here. Go ahead.
then
My
who
guess.
does?
It's her or nobody, because God forbid that one of us takes over when she's here.
Invoke Article 25. For the 25th Amendment.
All right.
I'll gladly lend you the library copy of Robert's Rules if you can chew it wrong. You insist on following Robert's Rules.
Excuse me, we don't need any outbursts from the audience. We have enough with our board members trying to solve this. Thank you, but no thank you.
You're welcome to contact the attorney now and ask about my motion. I have no problem. I'll follow whatever the attorney says. I'm an attorney. I know attorneys work after hours, so feel free to contact them.
But that should be a public phone call.
Whisper, whisper, whisper.
Article 43.
Yeah, just call them right now, and then we'll find out what the answer is.
Dan Kelly does not need to be involved in this situation.
This is, you're talking about the library board. If you're gonna call an attorney, it's the library attorney, not Joe's attorney who likes to help him sue everybody.
I'd like
Wait.
to get a phone call to the library attorney.
Their conversation.
I know. Open meetings violation.
No, let her make it. No, let her make it. Let her make it.
Discussion.
Who needs to get off their ass?
Becky, why don't you
You
sit
got off
down?
yours, apparently.
The conversation you cited at the beginning of our meeting, Article
Mm-hmm.
43 of Robert's Rules. You're having a private conversation. You're breaking your own rules.
No, we need to have an attorney called. I'm telling him to make the phone call because I'm not leaving.
Which attorney are you telling him to call?
It doesn't matter to me.
It does
It
matter.
does.
does.
It has to be a library, it has to be the library's attorney. The same attorney who gave you the original opinion is the one we need to call.
She
Stay
should
here,
not be
because we
calling.
all need to be involved in this call.
Well, he can come
Otherwise,
back.
it doesn't, no, it's not
We'll make
germane
the
to the
phone call
meeting.
out there.
I will not accept what
Then
Joe
don't.
comes back and
Then
tells
don't.
us.
Then don't. It's okay.
It is okay.
No,
We're
then
gonna be
we
sitting
should
here
call.
until
Let
hell
him
freezes
try to
over.
shoot. You don't have a
Because
seat and
one
get
of
We're
us
not
should
leaving
call.
until we
It's the
vote,
library
and I'm not
attorney,
accepting
not
Neither
Joe's
am I.
attorney,
information.
who has a-
Go ahead, follow him.
involved with
Patty.
suing the library multiple times.
Can you call?
Tell him to get off his ass.
Do you have the attorney's number? Because I have no problem
have
calling
it.
him.
But that's
Let's
not
call
what
him.
Joe's
Let's go.
calling.
Yeah, no, but why don't we call the library's
He's calling
attorney?
his
Why don't we
Joe
call
is
the
calling his
library's
own
attorney right now?
personal, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. Let's call the library's attorney and get an answer.
It's not the library attorney, it's this guy who sues.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We'll call the library's attorney right now. We'll get an answer.
Well, that's what I want.
No.
You're a good
Where is my phone? I don't,
So what do you want to do?
do you have a phone?
Wait, now they're having conversation again? Oh, now they're
Go ahead.
whispering.
More open
Okay.
meetings violation.
Go over there.
I'm here till 2 a.m. We're good.
I know what it is.
You do? Okay, take care of it then.
You got the phone?
I would go there, then you don't have to be bombarded.
It doesn't matter, because if he's talking to our attorney, technically, we should all hear what our attorney is saying, and it should be on speaker, not out of
you
Joe's
will.
mouth.
And you
Joe's
will.
mouth is not a speaker. The speaker of the phone is sufficient.
I'd like an email after the fact to all
Yes.
trustees with your attorney's
Thank
conclusion.
you. That's a wonderful idea. An email to all of the trustees letting us know.
Where's Joe going?
Yeah.
Joe's
Okay,
going
cool.
out in the hall to make this.
Yeah, let him do it.
Our
Whatever.
attorney's
Whatever he wants to
supposed
do. I don't care. Care less.
Well, that's fine.
Text them too. I'd answer my text if I got an urgent call from a client.
Hi Dennis, this is Becky Keene, trustee of the Niles-Maine District Library. We are in the middle of a special meeting and have a question for you if you are able to call us back.
And it's urgent. Let them know it's urgent.
Yeah, it is urgent, thanks. I'll text it. That doesn't need to be secretive.
No, it doesn't need to be secretive. It shouldn't be. I got you my phone. Yep, it's in my pocket. I'm looking and I can't find it. It's in my pocket. Duh.
Cindy, I got a question for you. Does it break quorum if I fall asleep?
Does it break what?
I'll sleep here if necessary. Does it break quorum if I fall asleep?
Nobody has, I don't know.
If I'm still sitting here? Yeah, that's fine, whatever.
We've had many meetings, well, we were past midnight, and one that I can remember where I didn't get home until after 1. So what's new?
I'm good.
Would you for an executive director, Cindy, would you guys like food? I'll bring it in for you if they would have no problem doing that.
No, we're good.
Oh, I don't want anything.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Susan.
Thank you very much.
It'll be a long night. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, plenty of people pick it up.
Understood.
Is it allowed for Joe to leave and then come back?
He did it,
Becky just did it.
and And Becky followed so she can go to bed.
I mean, they're doing it, so, I mean, you guys do whatever you want. What the hell?
Oh, God bless America.
Remember that quote. Carolyn, if you're right, why don't you just appeal after the fact? What are you afraid of right now? If you're so right, just do the roll call.
You know
and then
why,
appeal
you
after
know
the
why
fact.
I'm not in the mood to appeal after the fact? Because I want to move forward with this.
This is moving
We've been
forward.
talking, no, it's not.
Great leadership.
It's not moving forward. It's you getting what you want instead of us finally coming up
Isn't that what
with
happened with Olivia?
information to justify our decisions. How hard is that? We have the most learned.
I got all the
staff on
justification I
planet.
need.
I know, but that's the
talked to the
problem.
director.
You ask a question of the director and you're satisfied.
Yes, I am satisfied. That's correct.
Well, I guess maybe it depends on your situation.
Yeah, so we have a fundamental difference, and that's fine. And that's why I said that I'm appealing. I didn't say that you don't have the right to deny my motion and so forth. I just said I am appealing that, and that's under the rules. That's it.
Welcome back, Joe. Yeah, I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Nobody's answering the phone.
Yeah, Becky left a message for, what's his name too?
She texted him. We'll see which gets the response.
Why don't we message the KTS attorneys as well? The whatever. I'm forgetting the name of their firm. Not Kate, what's their?
KTJ?
KTJ, yeah, sorry.
I mean, just a simple little solution to this problem. Not gonna happen.
I am happy to modify my motion and say that lifting the hiring freeze conditioned upon an attorney validating that this motion was proper in this context. I'm happy to amend that motion if that's going to help us move forward.
Actually, because of the disagreement in a special board meeting versus a regular board meeting and the Open Meetings Act and your Roberts rules, we should just wait for the attorneys.
So I said, I'm happy to have the motion that contingent upon an attorney opinion saying that this was valid, I move as follows.
And I'm willing to wait to get the exact information.
That's fine, that's fine. I'm just saying that if we want to speed things up, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to modify
You
it.
are.
Unreasonable for
Yes.
this to have occurred? That's unreasonable. Once again, we are denying
never mind.
the public the information for us to make a decision. We just want to cover it all up and hurry up and vote yes.
This is an open meeting, so I'm not covering anything. I can say that for
Apparently so,
sure.
because the only information you require as far as trying to figure out what vacancies we need to fill is if the director thinks
It's
she
not
needs
your
staff.
job.
That is correct, because I do not believe that it is my job to ask for any additional information beyond that. That's why. And that you and I may differ on that. I may differ with Trustee Makula on that. I may differ with Trustee Schoenfeld on that. However, that is my position. I have all the data that I need. You may not have all the data that you need, and that's understandable. That's fine. And you have every right to rule on my motion. However, I have the right to appeal your ruling on my motion. And you're not entertaining that appeal. I am also, in an effort to overcome the impasse, letting you know that I am willing to amend my motion to say that pending the opinion, the written opinion of an attorney, that the freeze would be lifted only under the condition that a written opinion of an attorney is provided that this was proper under the circumstances. If that's fine, I'm willing to amend the motion, and then we can move on. And
What attorney?
the library's attorney, from a written opinion from the library's attorney. I am happy to do that as long as I am CC'd on that email from the library's attorney, as long as all trustees receive that email, that this is the legal opinion of the library's attorney, that under the circumstances, I'm fine with going with that. However, if you don't want to do that and you don't want to entertain my appeal because you don't believe the appeal is correct, you can, if you'd like, say that, we're not going to, I'm entertaining the appeal because I have to follow the rules. And therefore, if the appeal, is sustained and my motion proceeds, then you can contact the library attorney after the fact and say, well, was this proper? And if it was improper, then the motion would itself be invalid. Understood? So there would be no net effect of that. If I move and that motion passes, and then you contact the library's attorney, and the library's attorney says under the Open Meetings Act that this was not allowed, then that motion that I moved to do would become invalid and there would be no consequence. I'm trying to save you the trouble by willingly amending my motion, saying that if the attorney deems this a valid action under the circumstances of the meeting, under 5 ILCS 122.2a, if a vote is considered germane to the agenda as listed and this is valid, then it goes through. If it is not considered germane, then it would automatically, by the wording of my motion, be invalidated. So I don't understand why you wouldn't do that, but that's your choice. But if you're not going to entertain my appeal, you're not going to entertain my motion, we're just sitting here and waiting.
No, I already heard you, and I already answered you. I mean, you could repeat it 100 times.
That's fine,
Doesn't
and I'm
change
happy to.
anything.
I'm happy to.
I was
Keep
also
reading. Go
told by an attorney that there's several court cases that involve situations like this, and they were ruled that they cannot have a vote without, at a special meeting, without.
Can
it
you
being-
cite the cases, please, Trustee McCullough?
I don't have that in front of me, but if
Can
you
you
look
get
it
them?
up, you know how to look it up. There's
I know how to
one-
look it up,
One in
but
one of the
Southern
south
Illinois.
suburbs, yes,
Yeah,
that was
Southern
recent.
Illinois has one. So maybe you could do a Google.
Provide the data, and then we can look it up.
Well,
Okay, this agenda does not call for a vote, and that's my position.
It's quite obvious.
Whether your opinion approves it, it's on the table, so it has to happen.
What I think
You cannot have a motion that goes against OMA who says special board meetings must adhere to the
Okay,
agenda
you're
items
going in a circle.
specifically.
Yes, she
You're going in
says the same
circles.
thing over and
President
over
Ehrlich,
again.
we're obviously at an impasse, so we're waiting
why we're
for
waiting.
an attorney to respond. So
Yes, we are.
since you have the greatest contact with the library's attorney, I would ask you contact every single attorney in that office so we can get on with this and go home.
Well, I believe trustee Keene already contacted the attorney.
I did, but I bet he would respond to you faster.
Yeah, maybe.
He might
don't see
respond to
why.
me, because he knows I've been on the board for a long time, although technically she's the one. Here, let me try.
Why don't we all call him?
You know what, why don't we just act a little more immature than we usually do?
Why don't you do your job?
I don't think we can do that.
Totally changing the wording of an agenda to fit your regime or your agenda, which is basically what you did.
Oh, to stop? 20-minute time limit? But then if we get the phone call during the table time? I get it, yeah, but if they get it, they're not gonna put it in public.
I'm chilling. I got time. In fact, I think I'll lean my head against the wall. Relax.
he didn't answer.
Just wake me up if I fall asleep.
No answer.
I'll still be present, though. Yeah, feel free to throw anything at me. Just don't make sure it doesn't hurt, though, please.
What did she grab last time? Oh, my gavel. Maybe she'll grab that again. She likes doing that.
Sorry, Tom. Sorry, everyone. Sorry, Cindy. I'm sure you want to get home. I'm trying to help you.
Thank you.
Whose number should we have him call? Cindy?
Yeah, that's fine. Doesn't matter to me.
Hello, Dennis. This is Patty Rosinski. We are having a rough go at our meeting where we are not able to agree.
Make sure she's not doing
And could you please call us are not planning on going anywhere until this is resolved. Cindy, can you please come and give me your cell phone number? This way it makes it legit. He's calling you. Please write it down. I'm getting you Cindy's number.
Yeah, but you
And,
can't
this
text
way
it to him. You can't give out her number in a public meeting.
contact her and she'll let you know what our discussion.
You will text it to
Well, you have
him
to
so
text
that
it.
her number is not public.
You can't,
Okay,
you
here.
can't say it out loud.
Do you want to?
Text it, text
I will
it.
text you the number, sorry. I realize it's not public. Here. You contact him, that's his number, and text him your number. Thank you.
Stretch.
So she's currently turned herself around, so I can't see what she's doing.
I'll just stretch it with. Text screen, okay. Right here.
I'll get off the stage. Yeah.
You scroll down. Hey, that's you. The other one is him.
All your texts are for you. I know, it doesn't make any difference when you don't turn them in, but.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference when you don't turn your text in.
I tried to text message, if that helps.
And just let them know it's from you. You are, okay, cool.
So what are we doing?
I gave her my phone to text him, and text him her
Text
number
who?
and ask him to contact her. Because she is,
Text who?
Cindy, who was using my phone?
No, who's calling Cindy or text?
Dennis,
And why is he contacting Cindy?
because she is not one of us on the board.
Well, I thought the conversation was going to be available for everyone to hear.
Oh, if,
Wasn't that your
Cindy, you
request?
have yourself,
Would you
and you
actually
can put
grant
it
the
on
request?
speakers,
Well,
right?
that's what you expect him. Well, if that's what you want him to do,
I
I'm
just
just
feel
asking.
more comfortable letting him text her versus somebody else, because if one of us gets texted, you're gonna complain, it's wrong, and if you get texted, we know how we
We
feel
know
about
it's
that
wrong.
same thing. She's an employee, I trust her getting the text or the call. You have no problem being the, in between, do you? Thank you. I ask now that I asked to put you in the middle.
Well, we have the written documentation. And still. What is done if a president doesn't do her job? What do you do about that?
There's one legal opinion. What's, in the Illinois Appellate Court,
Can you stand in the microphone? Thanks.
read this opinion, which I found was provided to me. In Ray Foxfield subdivision versus Village of Campton Hills.
Oh, she's getting a call.
Oh, okay. Won't read it then.
Hello. Hi, Dennis.
Yay.
Yes. So I can put you on speaker here so that you can answer the question. Okay. Okay, and we've got you on speaker. So. Good evening. Yeah, there you go. Good evening.
Should I ask the question, or would you like to ask the question? Okay, go ahead.
Can he hear me from here, or should I come stand by you?
Can you hear Carolyn?
No.
I'll stand next to you and
Can you relay whatever she's saying?
If you speak, what? Rich? Okay.
So, is your mic on?
Yes.
Okay.
It's on. Okay.
Dennis, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi. Okay, we're at the meeting, and it's regarding the fact that we're in a special board meeting, and there are no votes on the agenda. So, of course, they want to...
Please specify my name and what I cited.
They want to... They've already motioned to take a vote. And what they're doing is, according to, what he's saying is, according to Robert's rules...
No, the statute first, the statute, please.
Okay.
Let him tell
Yeah.
you.
Here's where
I'm happy to explain it.
Dennis, we're in the
doesn't know how to
meeting
say
that we talked about earlier. We have 3 items on the agenda that are not for a vote. And now we're at a standstill because they've decided to pass a motion. And there's one position is Robert's rules indicates that based on this subject matter, they can take a vote.
Not
and then
Robert's rules, the
determine-
OMA says it.
And
The
then
OMA says it.
determine that a vote can be taken. Now, my position is Robert's rules can't conflict with OMA. So I'm trying to understand, do we proceed with the
Can you please-
rules of
can you
the
please
special
recite the
board meeting,
statutory provision
or
that I cited?
What should we do?
Umair, that is not what Umair said.
That's not what I said. Put him on speaker, please.
Put on speaker, precious.
No, he's fine, just leave him where he is.
Dennis,
Let
are you there?
Umair say what he's.
Okay.
I'm there.
Okay, so the question is,
Hey,
Cindy, can I just stop you for a second?
I want to add what
If
I
you just put it
cited.
down here,
Okay.
then we do this. He can
So
hear you on
I,
speaker, and then everybody.
I made a motion. I cited 5 ILCS 120/2.02A, which is part of the Open Meetings Act. And this says, the validity of any action taken by the public body which is germane to a subject on the agenda shall not be affected by other errors or omissions in the agenda. In other words, my reading of that provision is that if something is germane to a subject on the agenda, which was discussion and evaluation of the hiring needs, therefore, to lift the hiring freeze would be germane to that subject, and therefore, under 5 ILCS 120/2.202A, that vote would be permitted. So therefore, I motioned to have a vote. President Derblick said that under her understanding of the OMA, that this motion is not valid because it was not on the agenda.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, so go ahead and say what you said.
No,
That
I
was
said
my
it's not
understanding.
valid because what he's trying to do is change a discussion to a vote. And I'm saying, according to OMA, the agenda stands as it is. And so why would I allow a motion to do the opposite?
And so then.
So what do you suggest we do?
Let me add the last, I need to add the last point.
What do you suggest we do?
No.
Let him finish,
Dennis, can I
Carolyn.
please add my last point?
Sure.
Okay, so my last
Of course.
point was that as the chair residing over the meeting, President Derblick has the right to not allow my motion to proceed. However, under Robert's Rules, Article 4, Rule 21, I have the right to appeal that decision, and then that decision being appealed
is subject to a roll call vote, and that roll call vote will then determine whether my motion proceeds or not. So the first question is the motion valid under the two different sections of OMA, the one that she cited and the one that I'm citing? And then two, if that's an ambiguous question, does she have to call a roll call vote on my appeal?
And then my position is both of his requests tried to change the agenda, which is not requiring a vote. So we don't know where to move. Right now, I'm not doing anything. So what do you suggest?
All right. So I saw what the agenda said. I looked at it before the special meeting to make sure I understood what it said. First of all, Robert's Rules of Order does not trump the Open Meetings Act.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter. If the two are in conflict, the Open Meetings Act prevails.
Agreed.
Understood. There's no question about that. Robert's rules are, I agree that if there is an appeal from the chair can always be had and a majority vote prevails if to overturn that. I agree with that position. The way I read the agenda, which says under new business, and I don't have it in front of me, but my recollection is that there was 2 items that were listed for discussion purposes and 1 to review a policy. The Open Meetings Act requires, in order to take final action on a matter, for those items to be placed on the agenda as action items. So because they're listed for discussion, it doesn't give the public fair notice that there's going to be a vote on those issues. I think that's the position of the PAC and the interpretation of the Open Meetings Act. And if there was an item that was simply an agenda item, I agree with the last interpretation, which is, yeah, you can take a vote that's germane to it, but keep in mind that the way the agenda was written for this particular meeting, those items, at least 2 of them, were placed for discussion purposes only. So in my opinion, a final action can't be taken at least on those 2 items. The review of the policy itself is more questionable in my mind as to whether you can take some final action on that, because the reason for that is because it doesn't say it's only for discussion, but I think that's implicit in the way it was written. So my view of it, based on what I've seen, is no final, under this particular meeting, no final action can be taken on those 3 items for those reasons.
Is that despite ILCS 120.2.02A that I read to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there's another section in the Open Meetings Act, section, I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think 2C or something, that requires that there be notice, there be a basic notice given to the public the final action would be taken before it can be taken.
So
Including providing
Dennis,
information.
there was discussion at the last meeting that the hiring freeze would be discussed and that the trustees wanted it to be lifted.
Yeah.
So I think the public has been given fair notice and was expecting a different agenda item than the one that was put out.
It was changed.
So
It was
it was
changed by
clear
Ms.
that the
Derwin.
agenda item that was requested at the last meeting was about lifting the hiring freeze, and I think the public was put on notice of that, and then the agenda came out differently.
Yeah, so the subsequent, I don't know how that happened, but the subsequent action of...
Carolyn is how it happened.
Shut up.
The subsequent action of placing the items on the agenda as discussion items supersedes any discussion that occurred in a previous meeting, because it informs the public as to what's going to be expected to happen at this meeting, and it helps them determine whether or not they're going to attend the meeting or not. That's sort of the purpose of the notice and the agenda.
All right, I have a question.
So,
All right, go ahead.
yes.
How do we proceed? So Kadir's motions are off the table and we're going to the next agenda.
How about the members of the public that are here say what they expected to happen at the meeting?
Could you please
No, it's-
answer that,
doesn't
Dennis?
matter.
I gave my opinion. I don't think you can take final action on a particular item. If you decide to do that, if the board does take action.
We're not
Let
taking.
me finish, please.
All right, go ahead.
If the board decides to take final action through a motion or otherwise on particular items, someone can challenge that and determine whether or not that action is legitimate and legal.
So wait a minute, so what are you saying? They can take the vote?
My position, my professional legal opinion is you shouldn't take final action on those 3 agenda items tonight.
All right.
Based on the agenda as it's written. If the agenda was written differently, the answer would be different.
I got it.
What about the appeal? Do they have to address the appeal? Vote on the appeal?
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna move forward and take final action, and the chair says rules against that, there is an appeal process in the Robert's Rules of Order that allows the appeal, and the majority of the board can overturn that decision of the chair.
So then what does that mean? That we end up voting on these agenda items or not?
Yes.
Yes?
If the appeal is successful, then the motions would be voted upon, or the motion, whatever you're doing.
Okay, so the fact that OMA says we can't vote on these items, they can proceed with this motion and then vote on them anyway.
Appeal.
I'm not recommending that they do that. I'm saying that's the procedural steps that are taken if the board decides that, despite my advice, you're gonna take final action tonight on these agenda items. That's how that would be accomplished.
And if there's a 4-3 board here, so that would pass. Then what happens after this board meeting, since according to OMA, we're not supposed to vote on these items?
Someone would have to challenge the action of the board for violating the act.
Someone would have to challenge, can you repeat that?
Someone would have to challenge the action of the board for violating the act, and basically that's how it would go. You could file an appeal with the PAC.
Okay. All right, I guess that's the answer. Anybody else have anything more to say?
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Another thing, I mean, to remedy this, just so you know, if you want to take final action on these items, call us another special board meeting and put on there action to be taken on these particular items.
What if
48 hours from now or 48 hours from tomorrow, you can do the same thing and take final action, and there won't be any doubt that that's legal.
So, but do the 4 board members that call the special meeting control the agenda, or does the president control the agenda?
The items, if there's 4 board members that want particular action to occur at a special board meeting, in my opinion, I think there's an obligation to have an agenda reflect that. That's the purpose of giving the board members, the majority of the board, the opportunity to call the special meeting.
So then please ask about the agenda for tonight, why we were not be able to control that agenda for tonight.
Right, so that, they did ask for that, and the agenda was changed. So is that appealable? I mean, is that something that...
At this point, the agenda, for this meeting, the agenda is what it is.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, you can't change that at this point.
Okay.
But you can, like I said, the remedy to the issue to the 4 board members is to simply recall another special board meeting and make sure that there's final action that's going to be taken at that special board meeting, which I think they have the right to do.
Okay,
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
Okay.
thank you very much.
Based on the legal advice that was given, right now, I'm going to withdraw my motion.
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Cindy, please call the roll.
And we, We are taking a roll call on adjournment.
Yes.
One moment, please. Okay, so the mover, who moved?
I did.
We all seconded.
Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting. This is trustee Derblick,
Yes.
trustee Schoenfeld,
Yes.
trustee McCullough,
Yes.
trustee Rosansky,
Yes.
trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Keene.
Yes.
Trustee Kadir.
Yes.
The special board meeting of December 27th is adjourned at 8:15 PM.
May I make a